is not built in one day, particularly when it comes to connectivity of the world today. Every beautiful plan needs a lot of time and energy to implement. And that is also very true with the recent development of connectivity here in the region, on transportation, for example, and on infrastructure. On that point, I asked the two experts, and they are going to provide with us some of the key answers. Alexei, Dirk, welcome to CGTN. Good to see you guys here in St. Petersburg. I want to talk about transportation. Actually, one of the most important things is how to make sure the transportation will be efficient, while at the same time really going to provide the kind of support that we needed about connectivity. Alexei, I know you've been working on the traditional so-called transportation a lot. Tell me more about that latest development.
Yes, I'm representing here the joint venture, the transport joint venture between three railway companies from Russia, Kazakhstan and Belarus. We're trying to convince the customers in China and Europe that there is another fast, reliable and safe way between China and Europe through the infrastructure of Eurasian Economical Union. Of course, we understand that railway connection during the next 10 or let's say decades will be complementary to the deep sea shipping routes, because the total amount of containers, for example, shipped between Southeast Asia and China and Europe, exceeding 23 million containers. And our current target is to have 1 million containers. Very interesting but hard task to have these million containers, because it means the container train every half an hour. So we have done during the last 2 years, we have increased the number of containers in our services by 10 times. And we are very happy that this railway service is having a very, very good results in terms of new clients, new type of cargos. And so we have, you know, in China you have the Chinese leader initiative, One Belt, One Road. In UTLC, we call this initiative, our domestic initiative, One Belt, One Road, 1 million. So our target is to have 1 million, and as soon as we have it, we have another target, maybe 2 million of containers.
This guy already has very concrete target, Third, I have to say. Alexei, you got a lot of work to do, but at the same time, concrete target. For you, Hyperloop, that's an idea, still needs to be translated into reality. You see the traditional so-called railway is really updating themselves. So will you still become attractive?
Well, first of all, we're actually now moving over into the implementation phase. So we just started our R&D center in Toulouse. We announced the first commercial line in the Emirates and Abu Dhabi. So everything is moving actually quite fast. We are a little bit different, right? So we're not an operator, we're a technology company.
That's right.
So we're developing technology that solves problems that they might have, so ideally we are a supplier for them. I would say that rail hasn't really evolved. If you look at the way that it's built, and it's still very similar to how it was conceived, right? It's not much difference. In fact, in most countries of the world, the distance between the tracks is basically based on the butt of two horses on the Roman carriage. Russia is a little bit different there, Spain is a little bit different, and of course the high-speed rail was seen as one of the big solutions, but the real problem in rail and even metro lines is that they don't make economic sense.
But the thing is whether you are going to make economic sense. I mean, idea is wonderful to be presented, but when it comes to real practice, that's another issue.
Well, we're a little bit past that stage. So we have been working with several governments around the world. We have done several feasibility studies. We are building, so we know the cost quite well. And all of the feasibility studies that we have done with the different Department of Transportations around the world show an ROI around from 8 to 12 years, which is something never seen in the railway industry.
I'm going to talk to you about the feasibilities a bit later, but Alexei, Dirk is trying to challenge you. Did you hear from his message?
It's actually not a challenge. I think we're solving problems together.
All right.
Yeah, I would say that rail is much more conservative than the Hyperloop project, and this is true. You know, railway industry is not a very good field of the drastic innovations. Yeah, because you have to move not only cargo and containers. You move a lot of passengers. And you have to have a lot of security and safety. Yes, we can really have a breakthrough in technologies on the
like what?
Like speed of transportation, like number of wagons in the train.
What is the speed of transportation right now? How about the wagons in the train? What updates need to be done? Yeah,
well, at the moment, currently, we have the speed of 1,000 kilometers a day. Which means that our container trains are passing our Eurasian railway infrastructure with the speed of passenger train, let's say, regular passenger train. Of course, we cannot develop the speed 1,000 kilometers a day to 1,000 kilometers an hour, like Hyperloop is planning. Yeah, but you know, for customers, it is more important to have the transportation just in time than to have it, for example, 2 days ahead of the schedule. Yeah. Because when you are involved in the international transportation, you have to connect a lot of railway systems, different railway systems on the way. You have to accept the Chinese wagons, you have to reload containers very fast, then you have to pass the Eurasian Union Transportation Network. Then
this is exactly what I want to ask you about, because your competition is not really with dirt. Your competition is with some of the different ideas going on at the same time. For example, the Chinese company building infrastructure, the Chinese company that are offering railway services, and other countries along the Belt and Road, along the Eurasian Economic Union that are doing the same. I think that's where your competitors are. How are you going to do with that competition? But cooperation at the same time, that's the question, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. And the main factor of the success of the Eurasian Railway Transit is the level of integration and the level of partnership. Because you cannot be efficient by yourself. We are all in one boat, and we have to improve our efficiency by all of us.
But what about that integration, the keyword you just used? I mean, how is it doing now? What do you think about the level? From 1 to 10, where is it?
Our company is always trying to be more effective, and we're trying to develop the speed, the number of terminals at the border. We're improving the quality of wagons, and we see that more and more clients appreciate our efforts. So I cannot tell you where. I think we're somewhere in the middle between 1 and 10. But this is our common target to, let's say, to move more to the 10.
Yes. Alexei mentioned an important word, integration. Integration, Dirk, I have to say, also important for a new technology company like yours. You have to integrate with the existing transportation system.
It's actually one of the most important parts, right? So if you're building something that brings you from, let's say, Los Angeles to San Francisco in 36 minutes, but it still takes you an hour and a half to get to the station, you're not really changing the way we live.
Yes.
It's actually not fair to compare, because we have an advantage, right? We have the possibility, we have a blank sheet of paper, right? So they have to work in today's world. They need to serve the customers, they need to, we can literally reinvent everything, and that's a big advantage for us. And you know, again, we're a technology company, so we're developing hopefully the technology that's later being used by them to move the containers on the Silk Road, right, on the One Road, One Belt project, and move them rather than by ship, which is not that great for the environment, by Hyperloop within hours from Asia to Europe or to Russia.
But the cost could also be high.
No, the cost actually, it's much cheaper. So the system has very low operational cost because you're working inside a low pressure environment. When he was talking earlier about speed, in a normal train, the speed, the high-speed train in China, the energy consumption is exponential to the speed, meaning that it's not just double the energy needed for double the speed. No, it's exponential, much more. So we are the only real solution that can work while still making economic sense.
I certainly hear that proud statement, but on the other hand, you heard a lot of ideas going on in other parts of the world as well. The question is the time of implementation.
So
the question is the scale. The question is integration worldwide, regional-wide. Most
of those questions have been already answered. We have been working, for example, with our partner Munich Re, which is the largest reinsurance company in the world. They have released a risk report last year already saying that they're going to be able to insure our system.
Yeah.
We're now working on the policies. We're working together with TÜV Süd in Germany on creating the safety guidelines. We're working with governments to create the necessary regulations. And to be just clear, I mean, this is not a technology that's going to be there tomorrow, right? We're going to be building it, and then you need to run. You need a certain amount of runs to really regulate the system.
Okay.
It's a marathon. It's not a sprint, but it's faster than you would think, and it's already there.
Transportation is one of those very important factors of economic development. But when you look at this part of the world, we talk about integration, different ideas, Belt and Road, Eurasian. But on the other hand, you do have very different development stages. The cost, economic viability, and some of the other issues. So let's just say from China to Europe in the near future, the low price of the ticket, how low will it be?
If you want to choose rail, I think that will be one of the most competitive way of transportation. It will be somewhere, because nobody needs it to be transported in 2 hours, you know, like I said.
So what exactly is it?
But it's going to be 30% cheaper than it is now, nowadays.
Which is what time, 30% cheaper?
In a year.
In a year's time?
In a year,
You promised me, Alexei.
Yes, I promised.
30% cheaper?
Yes.
Than is already existing the price?
Yeah. I mean, if you are talking about the utility services, yes, we have the plan how to manage this figure. You know, for us, the cost cutting, once again, is one of the most strategical targets. We understand to get more sales, we need to be more competitive. Competitive, even competitive to the deep sea rates. When I was studying in the university, in my transport university, it was a fundamental knowledge that ship is 4 times cheaper than the rail. Now, we're very close to the rates, to the deep sea rate. So, and we're gonna proceed this way.
What about you, Dirk?
Well, I think that transportation...
You promised 30% already. And of course, this is not a competition, but
well, transportation in the future is going to be free. So
as simple as that. How far are you talking about?
You think about, I mean, it's not only the Hyperloop. Actually, we're working on solutions that allow us to monetize in a different way. So if you think about the time that someone would spend going from China to Europe in his train, for example, there are a lot of possibilities to monetize this time, much more than just buying a ticket. So you can actually optimize that time and create an ecosystem. So, well, you're creating an ecosystem of services, right? Other companies that can come up with solutions, that can come up with services that you might use, that might, you know, that really, and that's something that we already are implementing. We're working with different train operators. We're in discussions with car manufacturers. So I would say that, you know, because now the next question is going to be when, right? The next, I would say that when we talk about a time frame, it's somewhere from probably 2 to 3 years that you will see the first steps of a system going in different countries.
Wow, I got already 2 timelines. 1 year, 30% off the ticket price, and 2 to 3 years, or is the first stage.
But the reason is just because the way that we work is we're changing the business model, right?
We'll see how the change will be. Before we go, since we're at the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum, people would ask a lot about the future of this region, whether it is the greater Eurasian region or Asia, linking Asia to Europe. What do you make of the potential of this region from your perspective, Dirk?
Well, I've been coming to Russia for the last 20 years. So I've seen the development from then to now, which is amazing. There's a huge potential still here to make things better, bigger. There are amazing companies, amazing skill sets in the country, and especially when we're talking about the One World, One Belt project, right? So if Russia is capable of making sure to be an integral part of it, and not just something where, you know, it goes through, then I see a great future for Russia.
All right. What about for you, Alexei?
Well, from my point of view, Eurasia itself is one of the best things in this world. We're so different on the...
You could see this guy is operating his real system in the region.
Well, because there are many things which are connecting us. I would say that railways and football, maybe, you know, they're connecting us most of all. And both things are happening now in Russia. So, you know...
Yes, yes, of course.
I'm German, so...
Yeah. Well, I have a ticket, by the way, for Germany against Mexico, one of the first matches.
Okay, but a beer later. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I think that Eurasia is such a great thing in this world. You know, we're so different, you know, and it's a pleasure for me to come, for example, to China, to different parts of China, to see new traditions, to have new friends, new companies, and so on. When you come to France or to Germany or to Portugal, you see other side of this Eurasia. And it's so interesting, you know, to be involved in this integration process in Eurasia.
Absolutely. This is the most exciting time. Thank you so much, Alexei and Dirk, to be with us here on CGTN. All the best.
Thank you, Wei.
Thank you.
And beer later. Join you guys later.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Stay with us.
Thank you.
Thank you. That is my interview with a panel of 2 experts on the issue of connectivity. As you can see, the name of China has been repeatedly mentioned in the discussion. In fact, in any discussion here in Russia when it comes to the future plans. And with that, we're coming to the end of this special episode of World Insight with Tian Wei from St. Petersburg in Russia. Tomorrow, we're going to continue our coverage of the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum from the conference site. On behalf of my team here in Russia and in Beijing, bye for now.